Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast. This is where we bring on builders, founders, and thinkers to break down what actually helps you show up better physically, mentally, and professionally. No hype, no trends, just clarity you can apply. Today's guest is Scarlett. Hey, Scarlett. Scarlett is the co-founder of a collagen brand called Pretty Tasty, which is expanding nationally and launching into Sprouts this week. It's very exciting. Very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's not just talking about wellness, she's building it. Before launching her own brand, she was the CEO of a major global wellness company. She's operated at the highest levels of performance in rooms that are often male dominated, and she's had to navigate ambition, stress, identity, femininity, and leadership in real time. Today, we're going to talk about two things that don't usually get talked about together. Collagen, what it actually does, who it's for, and men, why you should probably listen up and probably start taking collagen, and how high-performing women can build powerful companies without feeling like they need to compete in a masculine way to succeed. We're going to get into it. What collagen actually does for your skin, joints, and long-term health. Why 30% of your collagen customers are male, and how stress affects our appearance and performance. And why operating from calm clarity is actually more powerful than operating from pressure. And for the guys listening, yes, we're going to talk collagen. I just started taking it myself. Actually, correction, I just ordered my first collagen. So I haven't taken it yet, but I will soon start taking it myself because I just got older. So I'm trying to delay that old face that you can see right here. So Scarlett, welcome. So excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. And you're going to start taking collagen every day because I'm going to send you Pretty Tasty and you're going to love it. And it's going to be so easy to take your daily amount.
Maybe where we start is how the heck did 30% of your customers end up becoming male with what you said was a feminine design?
Yes, my cans are sparkly. My favorite color is pink. And so you'll find it in, all my companies are very pink, very me. And I wanted to create something that's fun to drink, right? Like, that sort of joke that you always have to have three drinks. It's part of your personality now. One for hydration, one for energy, be it caffeine, and third is a drink for fun. And I just made that fun drink also functional and with a little bit of caffeine. I think that, companies like Vital Proteins has done a great job in educating consumers what collagen is and how good it is for you. I'm Chinese, so I grew up with like food as medicine. And like I was telling you, ever since I was a little girl, my grandmother told me if you want to have good skin, take your collagen. And as an adult, obviously I don't have the same home cooking that has collagen in food. And I started taking collagen in powder form and which is probably what you purchased, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And I, would put in my morning coffee and it would ruin the taste of coffee and it was gritty and it was messy. And I really wanted a way to make it really much more enjoyable. I love my coffee and I don't like it anymore and it's creating a mess. And so that's how Pretty Tasty came to be. And iced tea is my favorite beverage. I'm not normally a beverage person. And I'm like, can I make it in a way that's delicious? And so that's how Pretty Tasty was created. It has 10 grams of collagen. And I think a lot of men are very cognizant in how much protein they take, right? And collagen is a protein. And because of that, when I go out, even when I go out sampling, because I love seeing people try my drink for the first time, that first look does, you know, they don't lie you if they like it or not. That's how you know if you have a hit. A lot of the men will look at the can and they'll say, "Well, this has 10 grams in one can." They're like, "This is so efficient and this is so refreshing and delicious. How do I get on subscription?" So I think the sort of the taste and the practicality almost of the drink is the real seller. Also, a lot of women, female customers will say that I swear I bought a 12 pack, but then when I open my fridge, it's gone because either my dad, my husband, or my boyfriend drank it all. And I turn around and I see that they just crushed like 2 cans today. And so I think like that's sort of like, we know that, 80% of purchases are controlled by women. And so I think that's sort of them sort of buying and trying the product first, and then the men in their lives learning about it and then buying it is probably how it became the way it is.
Yeah. I love the fact because when you described that you had a collagen company, a collagen brand, I just assumed it was powder, that I was just the same thing I just bought and that it was going to be the same. I love the fact that these are in cans and it's portable. You know, a lot of people that
Yeah.
are busy that probably need it, and they forgot to do their morning collagen and they just go grab that
Yeah.
at.
But like when people ask me if I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, I will say that I rejected it for most of my life. I come from a very entrepreneurial family. My grandfathers were both very successful entrepreneurs. So is my father and everyone on my father's side of the family. And so I always had my mom telling me as a kid, like, this is the worst life you could choose. Like, don't do it. And I saw it like every family meal was about business and talking about business. And obviously that worked for the family business. And also business came first before anything. So like, there could be my graduation, but there was also a business meeting and my dad would be like, well, you haven't, yeah, I'm going to go to the business meeting instead. Like, so it was just, I was like, I don't want that life that was so all consuming. And then when I was at, MIT, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs as well as entrepreneurship trek. And we went to visit all these like founders that, in San Francisco and who had like recently graduated or were alums. And I looked at how tired they looked and I was like, oh my God, I would never choose something where, it's like, forgot to shower in the last week. I'm like, this sounds like an awful life. So I kind of fell into entrepreneurship by mistake. Was I had worked for, large companies that were sort of startup that sort of became really, really big, like, Fresh Direct or, all states that private equity funded. And I was actually recruited to start an egg freezing company in New York by a private equity fund. And they sort of told me, we'll bankroll it. Like, but we would love for you to be on the founding team. And that's sort of like got my feet wet. And then I realized how much I loved the startup space because I love solving problems and I love learning. So just like the pace and the ability to disrupt and be creative and look at things in a different angle was just so fun for me compared to larger companies where I felt like there was red tape and bureaucracy and things took a long time. And so it's a much better fit for my personality. And I joke all the time that there's something wrong in the brain. It's like entrepreneurship is a mental disorder because we have this ability to compartmentalize risk so well
Yeah.
that we always think that, oh, you know, live to see another day. It's fine. Like, and we just tell ourselves that we can always have a corporate job or there's always a fallback, but instead we're going to create these companies and bring these new products into the world.
Well, I mean, first off, thank you for following your instincts because it sounds like you've created some amazing, no, it doesn't sound like you definitely have created some amazing products and services and companies that better the world. You know, I have two young kids right now, maybe not directly from your business, but I don't know if it was the same company or not, but they were frozen little babies. So,
Well, my investors had the largest fertility network in North America, so chances are high.
yeah, yeah, me one of your products.
I love that.
It's interesting. They're 2.5 years apart, but now I'm telling the world, and they've been telling them that they're 7 and 4. So it doesn't really make much sense to them yet. But they're twins.
Oh, wow.
Twins separated by 2.5 years. Yeah, it's wild. But thankfully, we have kids because of all that. And if that didn't exist, have a lot more money but no kids. But not many people follow that instinct. And then they wake up and they're 50 years old and they're like, "I wish I would have done something with my life."
And I will say that you should do it at any age, like, just that's the difference, like, you never regret the thing that you did, it's more like you didn't do, right? You always have there's no what if you didn't do it, if right? Does that make sense? Yeah,
It does. Yeah,
yeah.
you literally nailed it. At one point, did you do that self-evaluation we were talking about before the start of the recording of realizing, "Wow, I'm just trying to be more masculine because I feel like I need to, and it's just not me." You said you had to do
Yeah.
some self-evaluation and self-reflection to realize that you don't need to be like that. Could you talk to the audience about that as well?
Yeah, and I think I get just, sort of like the thought to finish off the thought on entrepreneurship, as I realized that I enjoyed it, I also came to the realization that that was, the way that I saw it, that was scary to me. That was how people decided that they wanted to be a founder, right? I am in control of my own destiny and I can be a very different founder and a very different leader based on, my own what's authentic to me, and it can look very, very different. Like I sleep 9 hours a night. And it's important to me that I'm well rested and that have time for my loved ones and I'm a
Mhm.
good friend and all of those things have been I think entrepreneurship has forced me to go on this like sort of self-realization journey to build my ideal life in a more expedited fashion. And, part of that was trying to figure out my leadership style and realizing that, why I was so exhausted and burnt out was because, 2% of venture capital goes to women. And then if you talk, women of color, it's like point something percent. And so I am in these rooms that are male dominated. I'm talking to male investors and the sort of like energy that I need to bring or the expectation and how I handle things or talk about things is very, it's a lot more aggressive than I am as a person. I think if even if you ask, I have, friends and, relatives, family, my mother, my sister, they would have never guessed that I would be who I am today and that I would ever be a sort of CEO. I think they thought that with my sort of like nurturing, sort of gentle personality, I would be sort of like a stay at home mom, which, like, because I love children and like that is a part of me. I am a very nurturing person, but like I sort of bring that to the businesses that I run. And I think about my people who work with me. Bring that same energy to them. And I've reflected on that. And that is part of why I think people who work with me or for me will always say that for you, in a heartbeat, I would drop whatever I'm doing and to work with you again. And my business can still be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's different styles of leadership. And I think the old school style that generationally was much different with your parents, my parents. My parents weren't entrepreneurs, but that generation, it was very much if you it was about the hours and the actual sweat equity that you put in. It wasn't necessarily about the
Yeah.
talent, the strategy. It was if you showed up and then you stayed there and then you went home, that's hard work, and that's what you need to do in order to be successful. They didn't necessarily have the same advantages that we do of
Yeah.
now realizing through their failures that that's actually not successful, and we can actually do really successful work in a lot less time. Thank you, AI, even more now in our generation, and we can spend more time with our family and still have a successful business. In many cases, much more successful than what they were building, burning the midnight oil.
Yeah. And I'm Asian, so it's like, if you're not doing something always or you're not top of your class, you're lazy, right? And it's like that like constant growing up to like this that we stress and being overly busy, we sort of wear it as a badge of honor. And especially, I think I've seen this evolution, but I feel like if I look back like 5 years ago, even like founder friends, everyone's just like talking about how much they're working, how little they're sleeping, because that's how you prove that you're showing up and that you care about your business. And then I think that so many people have burnt out and learned that that's actually worse for the company if you're stressed, you're sleep deprived, you're not in the best headspace to make the right decisions. And so even for myself, like I think about that a lot more and try to let go of control and trying to be in a much more calm, regulated, safe space when I'm running my companies.
Yeah, I mean, because there are a lot of really good business ideas out there and a lot of really
Yeah.
good business plans,
Yeah.
and a lot of those businesses don't always fail because the product or the market wasn't right. It was because the founder wasn't ready. He or she just didn't work on themselves beforehand, or they didn't work on themselves while they were growing it, right? They just went at it, kind of figured it out, and then they realized the hard way that they could not handle that kind of stress, and they let it get the best of them.
Or that, it's people think of it as a sprint to an exit or a sprint to some sort of results when it's really quite a marathon.
Stacking, right?
Yeah.
Stacking wins. So, you have any failures that someone can look at and say, "Look, she's just like everybody else. Like, she's not succeeded at everything she does." It seems like so far, getting to know you, that you've nailed absolutely.
No, 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 that is absolutely not true. Pretty tasty hopefully is a success, but I think it's just how you frame success, and I've thought about that a lot. Like, we think about it as an exit. My last 2 companies, I did have an exit. My egg freezing business, my investors, the downside of having one investor is that when they decide that they're not interested in your business anymore, they can shut down funding overnight. And so the first one, we were in the midst of negotiating new investors and talking about expansion, and that's what I've been focused on. And all of a sudden, my investors were like, "We're just not interested in the reproductive space anymore. Yeah, we're not gonna sign over the paperwork for the new investors, and we're shutting you guys down." And so that company doesn't exist. That's a failure. My other company that I spoke about in the supplement business, we were going through a round of fundraising and we couldn't agree on terms. And I ended up leaving. And then 2, 3 months later, after my departure, it went bankrupt. So that's another, very traditional sense of a failure. But I learned so much from both of the things. And I also like remind myself that it was circumstantial. Like, we had investors lined up, we had acquirers lined up. It's just that there were things that outside of my control that happened that caused this exit to not have happened. And it brought me to a better place and to be, building my company now that I am so much happier doing. I think I was so stressed out in the other, businesses. And it also because of that forced me to like really dig deep and get more, I would say like spiritual and into meditation and really think about who I am as a person. And I used to always just like, I would have all these opportunities come to me and I wouldn't really think twice. I'd be like, if it's fun, if I'm going to learn something, I'm going to do it. And who cares about everything else? And now I'm a lot more intentional in where I spend my time, who I spend my time with. And I'm like, does it fit into the kind of life that I want? And if it doesn't, then I say no.
And that probably feels amazing.
It feels amazing. Yeah. I like the happiest I've ever been. as an adult. Like I had a great childhood, but like it's like, it's like and like I feel like I'm back to like when I was like, a kid or a teenager where every day I'd wake up and be like, I have the most amazing life. I'm the luckiest girl alive. And I truly felt that until I became an adult and I just like went, like started working in a way because I was always in such high achieving jobs that wasn't aligned and authentic to me. And I was kind of miserable and burnt out all the time. And now I'm finally back to that where every day I wake up just like, this is incredible that I get to live this life.
Mm, that's beautiful, Scarlett. I was just going to ask, do you think that if you didn't have that, by most accounts, bankruptcy is if it could be one of the most stressful things. I mean, heck, some people don't even survive it themselves. It's
Yeah.
such a failure in their mind that
Yeah.
we get past that. It's literally a tool so that entrepreneurs like yourself can take on more risk. And if it doesn't succeed, press the reset button, start again. And you've taken advantage of that tool. And thank God it's there. But do you think that going through that experience, if you did not go through that experience, that you would have this sort of enlightened alignment that you already have right
No, I don't think so. It was like a true reckoning. I was like, I felt completely lost, didn't know who I was. I had people tell me that I didn't even like belong to a founder group anymore because I didn't have a company anymore. And so I truly questioned. I was like, "What? Who am I? What am I? Like, who do I like even like when you introduce yourself to people, right? Like we're so used to like saying like I'm Scarlett. I have this company. Like it's immediately your job, right? Like it's like this is how we justify our existence and nothing else. And so I was like, what do I tell people? Like I I don't have a company anymore. Who am I? If I'm not a founder, then what is my identity? And then I realized I'm like, is this all I'm about? Like, is this like, why am I tying myself so much to this company? And I think that really made me start thinking harder about what makes me me, what makes me happy. And, I've always tried to live with the philosophy of wanting to leave the world a better place that I've been and when I got here. And so I'm like, that, in itself is not defined by, the last company that I had. There's a lot more to
or
it.
the current. Yeah.
Or the current. Yeah.
So we talked off air a little bit about the nervous system. Some of the things that I'm hearing from you, correct me if I'm off target here, but it sounds like you were actually able to stop. You were forced to stop. It was almost as
Yeah.
if you needed to stop for your own health. It's funny
Yeah.
how the universe does that to us sometimes. It's happened to me, as well. I was forced to stop and realize what my priorities were when I was lighting both candles at the end of the stick, trying to also grow a business as well. And the stress of that with the stress of everything else got cancer, and dis-ease shows up in our lives when we have dis-ease.
Yeah.
And it sounds like to me that maybe this bankruptcy was more than just a helpful reminder for you to be more aligned, but it helps you maybe even prevent some major diseases that could have come down the line if that didn't continue to improve that lifestyle that you had.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely left jobs because of like health issues before. And so, and they didn't stop me before. And so I think this was like the real, like, true message that I really had to like make some changes.
You said meditation. What were some things that you found helped you get centered, helped you reset, let's call it the nervous system?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things you found that were helpful for you?
So we talked about I was the CEO of a major global wellness brand company that taught a lot of people meditation and mindfulness. So that came right after me losing that
Oh,
other. So it came, well, 6, 7 months after, maybe a little bit longer, but it came just at the right time. I think I had sort of explored what I wanted to do. I thought about starting a venture fund because I wanted to support women who were like me and sort of build a different model. I had like done, approach to be co-founders of like several other businesses and nothing really felt right. And then an investor who had wanted to invest or acquire my previous business came to me and said that this transaction is contingent on you being CEO. They feel very strongly about you. And so please join. And I was around the most wonderful, supportive, spiritual people who I adore. And I still talk to my team every other week. We have a catch up.
That's
And I think that was like such a warm embrace into the sort of world of learning meditation and learning how to regulate my nervous system. And I think that a lot of people think that you have to be good at meditation to meditate, especially people who need it the most, like us, who are high achieving type personalities who we're not going to do something if we're not going to be really good at it. Right.
mm,
And so tell people this a lot. I'm like, there's no such thing as being good at meditation. We have this like idea that if you're good at it, you can empty your brain and not think about anything and sit still for like 30 minutes and that's meditation, but that's not true. Like it's being aware of the things that you're thinking of and maybe taking a pause and extending that time in between or just like not thinking about like one of the first ways I learned how to do breath work and meditation was actually through music. My friend Robbie who started Othership, which is, a cold plunge sauna. So he had like an app that was like very like immersive music that was just like instructions breathing in and breathing out. That was just so helpful and it helped me, switch off my brain. I couldn't think of anything else and I
yeah,
didn't have to think about being good, being good or bad at it.
that's a great point. It's interesting because I bet even the people who, because I'm speaking for myself here, but even the folks that would claim they're bad meditators probably have some of the best ideas when they're in the shower, you know?
Or taking a walk.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they don't realize like, oh, it's because you're not thinking. You're not
Yeah.
doing anything other than something that takes none of your brain power to clean your body. You probably start same spot and finish same spot every time. And that's yeah, because you're finally quiet. And I constantly need to remind myself to have some quiet time and just shut the brain off. And that's
Yeah.
allows us to actually get more messages of what decisions we should be making.
Yeah. And also
What's
like feel. I
yeah,
think that's why I've been, being very logical person. I try to explain or logic my way through everything, including feelings. Like, why do I feel this way? I should feel this way because of this, 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 and rather than letting me fully process feelings. And so I think just like reconnecting to your body through breath work not only calms your nervous system, but it just really makes you tap into your intuition so much more easily. And I really feel that, we sort of think of intuition as this like weird woo woo thing, but I actually think it's like the most sophisticated algorithm where your body is like remembers all the decisions you made and almost like, you think of like machine learning, but like for yourself and like it spits out an answer before your brain can even get there.
yeah. So name one thing if you could
Yeah.
think about it, because this is kind of out of left field, but name the coolest thing that you experienced or saw when you were working at this wellness company that it just blew your mind.
Oh, we're gonna get really, really woo woo.
Yeah. This is the woo woo channel.
Yeah, yeah. One of members of my team has sort of intuitive and a psychic sense ability. And there are uncanny things that she's, been able to sort of predict.
Mm.
And, other team members, my CEO who had worked with her for much longer would tell me that once, the company almost got sold and we thought we're going to all lose our jobs. And suddenly the board made a different decision as I was walking out to the meeting. And this, now a friend of ours texted, she's like, wow, they changed their mind. Like before, like coming out, she's like, how did you know? Like we just said that and we were walking out of
Wow.
the room. And she's done the same to me where like one of our investors had reached out to me and asked me for a meeting, and I happened to be on like a Zoom with her because we are talking about something else, and she messaged me and I was like, "Oh, weird." Like he asked me for a meeting and I was like, "I don't really feel like talking to him today. Like I'm just gonna push it off to tomorrow." And she's like, "No, I think you need to go see him now. It's important. There's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be fine." That's what she said to me. "We can handle it." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't really think much about it. Went to see my investor, found out that he had decided to basically let go of half of the leadership team.
Oh, man.
And I was then good also take on the role of something as COO of the holding company, in addition to being CEO of this brand. And then also taking on all the other portfolio companies. And I like left his apartment, downstairs, and I was like, I suddenly remember how she was like, "There's gonna be a lot of work coming, but it's gonna be okay." And even going back to talk to my investor afterwards, he's like, "Had I not spoken to you that day, I might have made a different decision."
Wow.
And so it's wild. I can't explain it.
I have had some experience with some folks that have intuition as well.
Yeah.
Um, have you heard of the Akashic Records?
No.
Okay. So we had an episode that just aired 3 weeks ago. So go and check it out.
Okay.
And what happened in that episode was absolutely crazy. So this young man right here, when he was before his third birthday, he had a liver transplant. And I was lucky enough to donate a portion of my liver to him. So we're liver buddies. And when we were going through that, we sought out a Reiki specialist to just talk and get some alternative viewpoints other than therapy, right? And when we were talking to her name is Trinae. Trinae just beautifully put it in this way. Trinae is intuitive as well. And Trinae, first introduction to Reiki, I had no idea what it was. She didn't even do any healing on us. So we just had a conversation because it was COVID time. So we couldn't even meet with her face to face. But she basically told us that in a past life that this young man had saved my life and it was my turn to save his life. And that before he came down here into this lifetime, he had already knew in the contract that he was going to have a liver transplant before age 7. So he had already agreed to it. Now, this is the first time I've ever heard anyone talk like this. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's kind of woo-woo, but it
Yeah.
made my wife and I feel 10 times better,
Yeah.
purposeful and mission oriented. And then here we are 3 weeks ago. We have a Akashic record reader specialist. She literally, we couldn't do it on recording because she does a prayer to open up the records. That is the intuition. That's the Akashic records is where all the information in the universe is stored. And there are record keepers called the Akashic. And so she prayed and opened it up and basically was doing a live Akashic reading on Ed and I during the episode. And then so finally, I test her as if I don't have any faith at this moment, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
test her and I say, okay, well, tell me, Akashic people, what can you tell me about my son? Right. And she's like, well, that's a random, like broad question. Can you be more specific? And I said, no, I don't want to be more specific. I want to see what they
Yeah.
say. And she said, like, okay. And I think my question was a little bit more specific, like, why did he, like, what's our relationship? What's my son and I's relationship? And she just kind of paused and like as if she was actually listening to somebody. And she came back and she said, Well, I'm hearing something about how he saved your life in the past and now was your turn to save his. I didn't tell her about the liver transplant or anything. And I was just like, what? Test it. And they, like, I shouldn't have tested them. It was wrong. But at that point, there's no doubt that there's so much more out there than we could ever imagine. And that Akashic Records and the universe and the law of attraction and everything like that is so
Yeah.
real. Because how do you make that stuff up?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It is.
Segueing over to back to the collagen, as if these two
Yeah.
subjects go so well together.
Yes.
Educate us and the listeners a lot about. I mean, we kind of understand collagen is beneficial from the
Right.
surface point, but the face, how does it help the face? What else does it help with the body?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like collagen is a protein and it's sort of the building blocks of your skin, your hair, your nails, and it, depletes as we grow older, just like a lot of things. And so obviously it being liquid, it makes it more, the absorption is higher. It's broken down to pains and it's the building block. So you're just basically giving yourself more of it so that you can rebuild your skin and your hair and your nails and your joints that you don't have as much of anymore.
Okay, got it. And you're doing it for cosmetic reasons, or is there other aspects of maybe parts of your body health wise that it's improving that you just can't see?
I mean, it also helps with gut health. I mean, joint health is also, you can't see it. I definitely feel it. I have like a surf injury from years ago, and every now and then my knee will act up, and then I'll have 2 cans of Free Tasty, and the next day it'll be fine.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do this every
Especially
day?
when I'm doing trade shows, I'm like, I need to double up now because I'm standing for 10 hours a day and I'm not used to it. I do it every day.
Do you 2 cans a day?
No, 2 cans is when I'm feeling very off. I mean, I have, like, at least 1 can a day, and you can have, multiple cans a day, but I drink a lot of things. Uh,
Alright.
I definitely have I definitely have a can a day, and depending on my schedule that day, either it's, right but when I wake up and running to a workout, in the afternoon when I need a little bit of caffeine to keep me going.
How much caffeine is in a can?
60 milligrams, so less, sort of like half a cup of coffee.
Good. Good. Because speaking of nervous system, my nervous system completely shut down last week because I got basically the flu or COVID or who the heck knows what, bedridden for several days. And it was also a message to me that that half pot to a pot of coffee every single day is also not going to cut it.
God, it's also
So
not so bad. Like, it gives me the jitters. I love coffee, but I really, really cut down on my coffee intake.
yeah, and of course, I'm not a doctor, so there's no science behind this, but to me, it makes a lot of sense. If you're at such an elevated energy level and you're using coffee to get there, it's not natural. You literally, to me, I just visualize the both sides of the candle burning again, and I'm like, "What am I doing? I'm doing it again. I gotta chill.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
have natural energy. I don't need to light both sides of the candle." I don't know if that analogy works or not, but it does in my head.
And it's a vicious cycle. Like, if I have that, then I don't sleep well, and then I'm tired again, and then I have to drink, more coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So for the viewers, you have an eclectic group of viewers here. Tell the viewers if they're number one, maybe a message for people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, right? And number two, for the ones who already are. Maybe they're not entrepreneurs, but maybe they're executives, maybe they're running the show like you were and still are. What advice do you have for them to improve not only with the professional life, but I think many people are here to improve their personal life?
Well, if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, think about why. No, I think that it the life of an entrepreneur is especially in this day and age and with social media, it's really glamorized. And you also like really hear about people with great successes, right? Like, and so I, I've seen it time and time again, people who think that they're like, it seems so cool, I should do it. I'm like, you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears. Like, do you think you have the right personality? Can you take on that level of risk? Like, is this really for you? So I'm like, really dig deep and think about why you want to become an entrepreneur. And if you're becoming an entrepreneur for the right reasons, and if you're willing to do this for the next, at least 7 to 10 years of your life or forever. And then I think that if you are an entrepreneur, you're the most important asset, right? Like, we talk about it a lot. Like, ideas are a dime a dozen. It's about the execution, and you're the person executing and the person with the vision. And so if you're not in the best state, how can your business be? And if you don't have the longevity and stamina to, like, neither is your business. So I think you have to prioritize yourself and do what tools that work for you. Meditation and sort of mindfulness practices work for me. Scheduling everything in my life and my calendar so that and being strict about it, and try, like, not being like, oh, there's a meeting, so I'm just going to cancel this workout, or I'm going to cancel this dinner. And I, really just be as strict, with the other things that you care about your life as you do with your business. Because at the end of the day, say you don't have why are you doing this? Like, if you just have your business left, but you don't have time, for your loved ones or your health, then what's the point?
Yeah. For me, the easiest thing was when I had that meeting with the doctor and got that news.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a week until I had my new priority list. Well, I would say value list written out, and health was number one, and it wasn't before. So I would just say you don't need an appointment with a doctor to do that. Just know that that's where it's headed, because none of us here need to be a scientist or a doctor to tell you that if you continue to keep, like, I keep using this saying, but I think it all is universal and everyone understands. If you keep burning the candle at both ends, it will lead to you not being healthy, and it could lead to even something worse than that. So take care of yourself. And we're not talking about a lot of hard, difficult things here. We had 2 weeks ago, we had two owners of a flotation franchise. And I had gone to their facility, and when I was going through all of my health stuff, just so I could learn what else was out there to
Yeah.
as tools to help me just shut down and take care of me. And I did a lot of that and still have been doing a lot of that since that journey. But there's a good option for you to execute on. If you can't meditate, it's a lie. So, get past that. But also, if you need some place to go, check out these amazing wellness centers and shops all over the place. They're all out there. Turn on your reticular activated system and see it. You're literally going to go down the street tomorrow and you're going to see a wellness center that might do acupuncture. Try that. It's really cool stuff. And
I love acupuncture
from being from China, is that because of your culture, or talk to us?
because of because
I love acupuncture too. And I I love it, but I guess to the point where I'm not enough where I'm consistently doing it. And I think does it make sense to say that you don't get sort of an immediate, I can't have there's not a tangible thing that I can say, ooh, I did that. I did acupuncture and now I feel this, this, and this better.
I feel it right away.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I feel lighter right away.
So there's a lot of different kind of acupuncture. One of the coolest things that blew my mind, and it wasn't acupuncture, it was acupuncture points, is a few weeks after I found out about my disease, I went to see a functional nutritionist, and he hooked me up to this electric machine, and he put electrical, I don't know, sensors on the fingertips and the feet. And he essentially was utilizing chakra points to figure out if from one end of this finger to this finger that I had any inflammation preventing that signal from reaching it. And it could,
Yeah.
based on that particular point that he had, it was drawn back to the specific part of my body that may have inflammation. And he's talking about 4,000 years of research from acupuncturists that
Yeah.
prove all these parts are connected to this part of your body. And it just blew my mind. How do you know
Yeah.
that?
Thousands of years of, I guess, like randomly sticking needles into people to see what happens.
Right. And he explained it in such a great way. He was like, yeah, scientists have proven that they can't disprove acupuncture not being real. So they're now calling it real. So they don't know how they did it, but yeah, maybe thousands and thousands of years of just poking people with needles.
Yeah. I don't know how it got started, but it works.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day and he mentioned that he stopped quitting smoking, or no, just nicotine. I think he was doing pouches from 4 sessions of acupuncture, which I thought was amazing. So any final words before we part ways? Because I know you probably have to get going and we really appreciate your time.
I think, yeah, we talked about it. You said, "Well, why do I care?" And we touched on it in the beginning, but I really want people to sort of, I said my journey about like designing my life to the way that works for me. And a big part of that is just taking better care of myself, better management of my nervous system. And I want that for everyone.
And you don't want them to maybe also have to go through the financial hardship and stress that you did in order to get there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm with you on that, and I hope that we do reach as many people today, and we also help them understand about your company and go out and get their taste of some pretty taste.
Pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty. I can't wait to try it. So, I'm looking forward to having that in my life. It actually sounds much better than the powder that I thought was the only thing that exists. So thank you for creating that. Thank you for being here today. We're inspired by the diary of the CEO. So, hey, Steve, what up, dude? Nice to see you. So I do want to steal the way he ends some things, and it's going to be, done in a master's of wellness way, wellness related. For the next guest that we have, what message can you give the world?
Be your most authentic self. It's enough.
You
Thank
have
you.
been nothing but authentic today. It's been a pleasure. It's really cool to get to know you. I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully we can
Thank
have you back in
you.
the future.
Likewise.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. Of course, I should have said this in the beginning, but if you like this thing, if you liked the episode and you like the podcast, like everything below, thumbs it up, share it with your friends, and go out and buy some pretty tasty. Take care. Awesome.